and associate professor in radio, television, film, and the Herbert School is very proud to be co-hosting this event with Hofstra's Cultural Center. I want to thank my friend Carol Mallison from the Cultural Center for organizing as well, and the Cultural Center just for doing the marvelous programming that they do to remind us of what campus life is like even during COVID times. We're very delighted today to have guest speaker, Ms. Martha Pinson, who is an independent filmmaker, producer, director, writer. Martha has made a number of award-winning short films, a feature film, written several feature screenplays. She'll be talking about her work, but she's also had a long career as a script supervisor in film and television. And she's worked with such luminaries as Martin Scorsese, Oliver Stone, Sidney Lumet, and others. And so she'll also be talking about her work with those directors. I believe we are recording the Zoom session, and Martha's going to speak with us for about 30 minutes, and then we'll open up for some questions. So hope you enjoy this. Thanks for coming. Martha Pinson.
Hi, it's very nice to be here. Thank you for joining. As I was, telling Rodney, I really enjoy teaching, and I'm so happy to share what I know. And we'll just go for it. I will speak for a while, but this is for you. So if there's something you're curious about, just ask me. We'll have plenty of time for a Q&A. And I hope it's useful, and here we go. So as Rodney said, I worked a long time in the industry. My crew job was script supervisor, and I also would take time off in between shooting a film as a script supervisor to do other projects that I was just inspired to do. Once I started working on films and seeing screenplays, I thought, wow, that's cool. So I would, do a movie, and because it was a really good, in a sense, union job, I was so fortunate about that. It was back in the late 70s when I started, the salary was just like 10 times more than like an average hourly wage at a, movie theater or wherever you happen to be working. And the 70s was a sort of recession time, so there weren't a lot of jobs, and I was just really, really grateful to have a good job. So I thought it was really hard. Script supervising is really hard. We'll talk a little more about that, but it was very useful to me, and it's was a great way to be in the industry. And so I'll talk about the job, and then also working with Sidney Lumet and working with Martin Scorsese as their script supervisor on 8 films each, I think it was, and other projects, this and that. But I also worked for a lot of other people, Milos Forman, absolutely wonderful, brilliant man, Brian DePalma. I kind of hit New York at a really good time. It was just blossoming as a slightly more independent, but still well-financed, feature films. There wasn't much in the way of television. There were TV specials, I did a few of those. And then more and more, like after like the year 2000 or so, a lot more television series. And that was a good job too, especially if you didn't want to travel. A lot of script supervisors work in New York, and you shoot here, and you can live here, and you can alternate episodes. So there's lots of ways that the job is not that hard to adapt to. And then I will also talk about how I built my career toward more work as a director and also as a screenwriter. So, and then another thing I want to talk about a little bit is studying acting, because that was something that I found very helpful when I was undertaking the idea of directing actors. I thought it would be good to just immerse myself somewhat in what do you say? I would hear it. I would hear directors talk to actors, but not always. A lot of that was private. So it was really useful to take an acting class. All right, so the thing about the film industry, which I think you may already know to some extent, is that there are a lot of jobs. It's a highly labor-intensive process, making a movie or a television show. But the directing jobs and the jobs as a writer, a screenwriter, are really hard to come by. So I didn't have like a dad who was rich enough for me to just direct a film, nor did I even know how you would do that. So I got a job, and I worked, with grips, electrics, camera, sound, just hundreds of people. Well, I don't know, I've never counted exactly, but there are a lot of people there doing very, very useful jobs on set. And then there's also post-production, and now there's also a lot of work in visual effects. So the thing about the film industry is, like, when you graduate, if you want to get a job in the industry, there's a lot of ways to go. And I remember thinking that the idea that I could work on the street was appealing to me. Working in editorial where you sit in a room with a screen in front of you for hours and hours, that didn't appeal to me. I'm too manic or something, right? I love the idea of shooting a film, like just hardcore on the street, moving, walking, just doing it. And you have this harsh reality of the actual time, place, weather, the problems, coordinating so many different people and getting it right, and the joy that you're actually making something that just didn't exist before. It was words on paper, and now it's alive. I thought that was really, really exciting. And so, and some people I think would be excited about visual effects or editing. I mean, and there are also a lot of jobs in those areas. Generally speaking, you would start in a more of a support position. My first job was as a production assistant. That's just totally normal. Pretty much everybody does that. And it is something you kind of put up with, and I think no one thinks it's like fabulous job or anything, but it is how you get to see what's going on and get to sort of guide your path as to where you might want to go. What looks good, props or the art department or editorial or visual effects. I mean, there's just a lot of jobs, and the industry is thriving. So I think, being a real success, like building a career like, a really top director, that's not easy, but not to say the least. But working and learning and making a living is definitely doable. There is a tendency for people to like to feel like you're not just doing this as a one-off to just get, an introduction to it or something. That there's a sort of a code that if you're going to take on a crew job or a technical job, that you kind of want to stick with it, move up in that department or in that, sort of category, start on short films or independent films or, so a TV special, something smaller, and then work your way up. And but there's kind of a code that you should commit, that you don't just bail. But there's no problem with doing what you want to do. More like you can take a few months off and direct a short or I directed a couple of full-length off-Broadway shows that a friend of mine had written, both of them, both the cases. It was a friend of mine who was a writer, and he wanted me to direct his play. Okay, great, I'll do it. And then I also directed shorts, and also a series of short plays that I was just asked to direct. Those were not recorded or anything. It was just we did a little video. And then also, when I saw a screenplay, I can't help it. I really want to write one of those. I saw great scripts, and I had never read. I read lots of novels. I was an English major, and I'd read plays, Shakespeare and so forth at college, but I had not seen a screenplay, and I thought, that is amazing. I have to write them. So I've written like 9 of them over the years, and I haven't sold one, but it still was worth it. I just wanted to do it. So, and then I directed the basketball short that I directed. Now, there's another advantage in a sense of it wasn't perfect. I think it could have been better, but a couple of things came to me because I was working in the industry. One was that I did a film where the camera operator was Tony Gianelli, who was, I thought, he's a great handheld operator and he's a nice guy. We're buddies, okay? We're sort of the same age, you know, that sort of thing. So I could ask him to be the camera operator, the DP on my short, and he would say, yeah, I'll do it. I said, well, I can pay you. He goes, no, don't pay me. I'll do it. I do it because we're friends. You can pay the crew. It's things like that. You know, those are, to me, were sort of telling moments where I realized that, you know, having a career with a tough crew job has a lot of other unforeseen sort of pluses, right? And I knew because of working with Sid and other people, and before I worked on the, actually I had worked with Marty before I worked on that, I did that short. I mean, it made a world of difference. I wasn't intimidated by any of the technical things or the you know, what I needed in terms of coverage, staging, how to rehearse it. I'd been there, I saw it. It wasn't like anything exotic to me. It was just things that I knew, that I understand, that I could try to, you know, do my best at getting them right, making it work. And so that's, right. So that I was saying, you know, you build your resume, you have to dedicate yourself to long hours and sometimes tough conditions to get a film done. TV series, they sometimes shoot like 8 pages a day. Obviously things will change somewhat after the COVID problems, but it's wild. And also when I started, there was a different sort of approach in that we shot on film and we didn't have monitors, and we, you know, we didn't have playback or anything like that. So there really was more pressure in a way on the script supervisor, like that I could say, you had the person in your left hand, and nobody else would have anything to check to see if I was right, you know. So right, I had to just say, no, you turned in the preferred take, you turned to your right before you went over to the door, whatever, you know, just everything was just someone's word. And the same is true with the camera operator. If it was that in focus, if he says yes and he's wrong, there's nobody else that can check it. It's just like he's wrong. So anyway, so that's sort of the take. Then the script supervisor job itself, briefly, is that you break down the script in terms of continuity, like the continuity days, what, you know, the flow of the scenes, what is the time frame between each of these scenes? Is it a flashback? Is it the next day? Is it the next moment? Because everything has to be in continuity. So you break it down in terms of the scene number, the location, what happens in the scene. Then you make a list of all the elements that might be critical, and you know this, what we call the story days. And sometimes I would call the wardrobe department, because they would have been on longer than me, you know, to design the wardrobe, and they would have been told in many cases what the story day was. Like, oh, this is a flashback to 5 years ago. This one is the next day. This one's the same day. You could tell a lot from the screenplay itself. Usually they're written with a relatively intelligent understanding of that. But, you know, you got to double check. So I would note the story days and what might change. Like if someone gets a bloody nose in scene 12, well then how much later is scene 13? And what do we match for that? Is it just swollen? Is it cleaned up? Or is it a long time later? And there are hundreds and hundreds of elements in any screenplay, a feature screenplay, that will be, you know, critical to telling the story, creating a true fiction, and just getting those things right so you don't confuse the audience. And a lot of screenplays are complex and they can be a little confusing anyway. So you certainly don't want to add to it with just something stupid that's confusing. So then we do something called a page count, which is, you know, how long the scene is, and that goes to the ADs and the production office, because they, you know, and they've already done it, but we sort of make sure that I make sure that their numbers and mine agree that we're right. So we do like eighths of a page. You probably knew that, right? Everything's based on an eighth of a page. So a full page is 8/8. It's a full page. But the schedule is designed for both for the convenience of the cast and crew, mostly, I mean, for the cast and the story and this and that, but, and the, you know, the availability of locations and all that. But also, as you go through it, you need to know, you know, how much of the work you've accomplished. So it's every day it's credited on the report as you did 4 7/8 page today. And it's a tally of what you accomplished. If you didn't complete the scene, you would save a few eighths for when you do complete it, that sort of thing. It's just, script supervisor has to report to production on the facts of what we shot, did we get it done, what the shots are, report to the editing room of every single shot, the takes that are preferred, which ones the director wants to circle or print or, you know, keep on the top, and where it goes in the edit. Whatever I can, and a lot of it is just close up Joe, right? You know, and then looks camera right to Mary, close up Mary, looks camera left to Joe. Something, you know, it's just, I attached a little printout of the, you know, script notes and the breakdown and the story days, I think, in the document that I attached that describes the job. So when you're really, really bored and you have plenty of time, you can read that report. It's quite long, but, you know, or skim it, and that will give you the nature of the job. Now, regarding working with really great directors, I feel like I really learned a lot, and I gained tremendous respect for what they do and how serious and what an effort is involved in making a movie. And I attached the document, which is Sidney Lumet's rehearsal method, and that was one of the most special and amazing things I experienced in films with him, because nobody else did that. To actually rehearse the film like you would rehearse in preparation for staging a play. But he felt that he could, and this is mostly is in the document, but I'll just give you a brief introduction to it. He felt that he could grasp and get it right with the actual flow of the story, the story in order, when he was in a room doing the rehearsal and working with the actors in the flow, rather than showing up at set and having to shoot everything out of order and deal with all the other elements of time, place, and exhaustion. So one of the things he would always focus on as he worked for 2 weeks with the actors was the arc of their emotional performance, right, of their character. So, for example, it might be a thing where, and this was in a big room, I describe it in the report. We're in a big room and the ADs and PAs tape off the basic size of most of the locations on the floor in this big hall. So, and then, you know, there'd be 2 or 3 scenes that would be done in more detail each day, and 3 or 4 actors would, you know, would be brought in for this, you know, this 6-hour session. Okay. So, and I remember this stuck in my mind, an actor said, you know, I want to try this. I want to go really insanely mad for this. And Sid said, yeah, let's try it. And so he did the scene. He just ran it in the rehearsal, really enraged. And when he was done, Sid said, I love it. I love the anger, but on the day, sit on it, internalize it. Right. So now they have it. They have a plan that is standing by. And it doesn't mean it's going to be perfect, but it does give them a chance to process and to communicate what feels right for this moment, because he's going to get mad later, you know, or more mad, or, you know, but that sort of subtle flow from moment to moment, it takes some thought, and it's easy to kind of just like, oh, let's just go for it, right? And then you don't realize that, you know what, would have been better. So minimizing regrets sometimes can happen if you do some rehearsing. And that, you know, that's something that people in theater know well, but in movies, it's kind of special. So then an amazing thing, among many amazing things working with Marty, was that one of the things he would do in prep was what he called an annotated script. Now, first of all, he's a genius and he knows everything about movies of all time forever, right? And very often he'll just reference, he'll be trying to describe the shot he wants to the camera operator, and he'll reference another movie, and oh God, we're just standing there going, geez, I don't remember that shot from the, like the shot over the stairs from the, something from the 40s. I don't know. Okay, but that's Marty. He's amazing. And he cares deeply about everything, the subtle, how long do you hold this move? How fast is the move? He's got it. He has a sense. It's almost like instinctive and intuitive of like what's right, what's really making it special, what's making it more evocative. So on set with him is fascinating. And but also now he would have a lot of conversations with the cast on, in pre-production. I wasn't there, so I can't speak about that, but he doesn't like overlook in any way the preparation of the cast and the characters and the beats of the different scenes and so forth. But I just can't speak about it because I'm not there. But I understand when Leo gets to set, he has a plan. He knows what he's doing. And sometimes I've heard them, discuss like variations on how they might address this particular scene or something. So they've had serious discussions. But getting back to this interesting thing, which I think is sort of, something you might want to try, is the annotated script, which in this case means that he would just take the script page by page, scene by scene, and write in the margin or just on the page there how he wants to see this moment, this part of the movie. Is it going to be an insert? Is it going to be a 3-shot? Is it going to be a dolly in? It's all abbreviated. It's all written out there, shot by shot, how he wants to see the moment. He was originally worked as an editor, so in a way that is a little bit sort of like thinking like an editor, like what are the shots, and then what, and then what, and then what. So that was available to the DP and myself on set, and obviously to Thelma, his editor, in the cutting room. And she would, she could see that when she was getting the footage and sort of, assess like where it goes in his plan. And also notes from me as to, what he liked or what this was for, or, whatever. We would have a pretty detailed plan about how this was supposed to be shot and therefore edited. He thinks like an editor in a sense, right? He's already there. He's like it's not like just, okay, we'll just cover it and we'll see. That is not so much his approach. Obviously, on set, we still do a lot of basics of, get the wide shot and then go in tighter and then get the reverse and the coverage, it's just, and then get the inserts. It's not like it's extremely different, but it's just a slightly different way of, writing and initiating what he wants. And it's really great, it's very clear. Okay, so then, there's oh yes, so as I think I basically covered this quite a bit, is that I would work on movies and learn everything I can, and always provide to the crew, if I can provide them with a shot list, or if I know the staging, or I just depending on what I've learned in case with Sid with the rehearsal, or with I'd always have notes. Another thing, during the rehearsal period with Lumet, I would send a report to production every day as to what was changed or tweaked, in other words, or decided, like scene 75, they're going to have Chinese food. Just people need to know that as much as possible going in, why not, right? So everything I learned, I would add. And then I would sometimes be able to, sort of derive a shot list from the annotated script that Marty would have done. There's also, there's all sorts of ways. But then once you get to set, it's like, there's always a AD decisions as to what, and producer decision, what do we do first, and what makes sense, and how much can we get done on this day, and this and that. And so everybody tries to move along to get the day's work done. So I learned a lot about making movies, and then I did a bunch on my own, as I said, in between jobs, because I couldn't help it. It was so much fun. And I wrote screenplays, one of which was almost optioned, another of which I would like to direct. And but I don't know how to raise money, or I'm not a producer, so that's tricky. I did a mini-series treatment, which was optioned briefly, but then it was dropped. Okay, it was like an historical mini-series, and that's just how it goes. And I did actually, there was a small fee for the yearly option while it lasted, which was good. But there can be a lot of disappointment in directing and writing and stuff. You just don't know. I wish you all the best, but it's and there must be a way. I don't know exactly, what it is. How do you just really make things happen? And then I said, it's really important, I think, to research whatever that you can, because there's things you're just not going to know that much about. As I said, I wanted to study directing actors. And so I audited these classes, and I didn't have to pay. It was great. I think I paid for some of them, but, and to hear the way that they talked, and just to make me a little more aware of what an actor has to do. And a lot of it is that they need to process and sort of internalize what's going on in the scene in the time leading up to it. And that means they need not only to get their hair, makeup, and wardrobe done, but they may need to just be left alone and let them get ready, right? So that's just something that's important, I think, to be aware of. On the film that I did in London, for example, that I directed, the actress said to me one day, like, I need to be alone and quiet for about 10 minutes before I do the scene. And I'm like, got it. There was no question. I was going to make sure that she got that, because I know how that is critical to the process of performance. And she did. She had to do an emotional scene from the top. So yeah, being able to accommodate and to speak the language that actors speak I think is really, really helpful. So putting all this together, I had a wonderful time as a director. I wasn't that worried about anything. Sure, there were things that came up that, the producers or somebody didn't, or locations, or, something didn't quite happen the way I had hoped, but I never panicked, because just keep shooting, whatever, And also there was a lot of time, because on indie films, they're working on the finance, things can get delayed. You have to be flexible and patient and persistent, right, to get it done. But I had a wonderful time, and I hope to do another one. And what I learned from being a script supervisor and just working on the crew was very useful. And it is 5:30. Bing, that's my time. Okay, so that's pretty much what I wanted to say. And off we go.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Martha. I have a couple of questions for you, and then I'm sure people in the audience have questions as well. Let me ask our audience members to use the raise hand function. If you go under the participants tab at the bottom, you should see the option to raise your hand, and that will allow us to see who is sort of next in line. But I have a couple of questions for Martha. Could you say a little bit more about this concept of the annotated script? And as my limited understanding of, you mentioned it, I think, in conjunction with Scorsese's tendency to think like an editor and shoot like an editor, right? And so does that, maybe just say a little bit more about what an annotated script is.
Right. That, it's not really a thing. That's sort of just what we called it, right? Because there were notes there, right? So just handwritten right by the line of dialogue, or the scene, or the action, or maybe even just underline something that refers to the phone, close-up phone, CU phone would be the thing that would be jotted in. And Marty, well, actually, just to clarify, he, in a way, he thinks like an editor. You know, he's thinking of how he wants to see each moment, how it's going to be cut, which is really detailed and specific to kind of have that in your brain in the beginning, because I think a lot of people think, and I even would, you know, go with the flow, like shoot the scene and then see how it plays out and then figure out, you know, well, you know, you need coverage, but you know, the subtleties of the coverage and things like that, I might sort of get revealed to me as I shoot. And he does too. So it's not like he doesn't really shoot like an editor. I mean, he shoots with, in a way to get the work done efficiently and for the benefit of the actors, right? You want to get them to show up, do the hard work, and then they can relax. You don't want them, you know, waiting or doing half the scene, you know, that you want to shoot the whole scene. He still does that, even though he's already clarified certain specifics of the coverage the moment he wants to use it. But we still do it, we still shoot it in the sort of more typical, the way you just cover a scene, you know, beginning to end, give or take, you know, whatever makes sense. And he's very, on set, he's very focused on the camera operation. Like, you know, and Bob Richardson's great, of course, but they would be, you know, very, very focused on the get the shot right. You know, that we want to move in just at this moment and have it be this speed, and, you know, really, really detailed perfection efforts as far as getting the shot to really feel right and to hold it the way that he senses he would want to hold it when he's cutting this scene, that we need this beat, we don't cut away, you know, stuff like that. So it's, I guess it's so, to think like an editor is a little bit of a, you know, I mean, a brief description, but which is, and I think it is there because he's done a lot of it, but you still shoot to the optimal, you know, get it done and take care of your actors, you know, and the things that are going to, you know, fade away like the sun or whatever, you know. Yes.
Right. So in a film like The Departed, which I just rewatched a couple of days ago, it was a real pleasure to see that film again. It's not a short film, right? It's a long film, and most of the scenes take place very rapidly, right? Like any given scene might have just 2 or 3 setups, or two. Some of the scenes are 1 or 2 cuts, and then you're on to the next thing. And so, would he still shoot something like that with full coverage, even though we're only going to see, you know, maybe 30 seconds of the scene in the finished film? He's still going to have a lot of material to choose from to get that 30 seconds.
Yeah, there would be the focus on his sense of how it was going to be, but yeah, we would get a little more coverage, right? We wouldn't, you know, just, you know, cut a scene early. He would run it through, you know, play the scene to give a little more satisfaction and revelation to what the actors were doing, let them do it, and then respond to what's going on, as well as what your sense is of how it will play. And yes, pace is another thing that Lumet and Scorsese both, you know, take very seriously. And that's something that, you know, once you sort of get the basics of the rehearsal, the staging, you know, you're in a room or on a set or on the street or whatever it is, like, and usually there's, like, obviously, as you're sort of figuring out where you're going to go and you pick this up, or when do you go here, when there, you know, the first rehearsal is not that, you know, that fast, but there's definitely a focus on getting the energy of the scene right, and it varies, and sometimes you know, it's meant to be more languorous and thoughtful and emotional and let's just stay there. And other times it's like, get the job done, you know? So that's always an aspect of directing, is like, how fast should he be walking, you know, or how fast should he be, or she be talking at this point? And then to know that there might be moments that you would get the right pace, but you like the performance better in this one. So you want to have options so you can, you know, get it as close to perfect in the edit, which he manages to do, of course. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's some of each. It's getting the specifics of what you really want, but also allowing for the flow that the actors need, and the options to adjust as needed. So in the edit. So yeah, there's a lot you want to get. There's a lot you want to get on set. Yeah, all the above, sort of. Yeah. Sure.
Okay, great. It looks like we have a question from, excuse me, from Zeban. I'm sorry if I got that wrong.
No worries, you're not the first one. No, you'll be the last. It's Zevin, like Evan with the Z. Yeah, I was just asking. So I'm a journalism major, but one of the things I want to do is, you know, help, you know, direct documentaries. I love 30 for 30s. I don't know if you've ever seen those, like sports and non. I guess, yeah, like, what's your experience with documentaries, like getting into business, getting your foot in the door? I'm sure it's kind of similar, but I love documentaries. I'm like a hound for them. Like I just, you know, I'll put them on when I'm like falling asleep or something. So I just, yeah, that whole process, getting into the business and how you would get started with something like that. So.
You know, that's actually a pretty big topic, and I would actually suggest perhaps Rodney bring in an editor, you know, of documentaries, or a documentary filmmaker, sure. Because I have not really done that, but I do know some things about it, and that would be that.
If you have any internship or email people, yeah, I'd be happy to reach out to them.
Yeah,
you can put it in the chat if you want. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, you know, actually, Rodney, I can give you some information that you can pass along to Zevin. I'll do it on a you know, email afterwards. I think that's better. The thing is, documentaries are absolutely great. I know quite a few people who work on them, and it's a very creative process. Involves a lot of research, a lot of planning. A lot of people will, you know, in a sense, write up in advance, like the story they want to tell, you know, in regular English on a piece of paper, on words, right? And that helps guide them to where they need to go and who they need to interview and that sort of thing. They need to have a story structure very much like a fiction film on some level. You know, you need to get, but you also need clarity and reality to make it convincing and strong and special. You know, try to go somewhere that the average person can't just go, so that this is like a journey into another world almost that that you are able to achieve, and then show it to the audience, right? That to give them something they didn't have, that they didn't know, right? And yeah, it's hard work, and it's less. I mean, sometimes it's sort of. I think it probably takes shape much more in the process of shooting on some level than a scripted, you know, film does, right? But there's definitely interest. I've never been involved in, like, you know, trying to distribute a documentary or, you know, that kind of thing. So I don't know as much, but I think that get a documentary filmmaker to come in and do a Zoom for y'all, right? They're out there.
I would love that. Yeah.
Well, we have some on our faculty, in fact, so
sure.
I can put you in touch with them.
I would love to, and whatever emails that either of you know, I would love to, you know. Yeah, for sure.
We'll pass that on to you. Looks like we have a question from Charlie Norton, who actually is going to be interviewing you later for WRHU. So, right. Charlie, go ahead.
Hi, Martha. Nice to speak to you again. Don't mind the background because I'm driving home to New York. I just got off a film set, but so I have a question because I'm currently I'm in the pre-production phases of putting together my short film for class, And this is like my first like true way of directing actors. I know there's ways to go about it, and learning from Scorsese and learning from yourself in your own films that you've directed. From the experience that you've had over the years in the film industry and you tapping on your own projects yourself, what would be the best advice to pass down to not only just me, but also the other film students here on the best way of approaching actors and going about the directing process?
Right. This is really complex, and I did speak about it, to a certain extent today. But I also think that I've never studied acting per se. I did a little bit this and that, but there is a lot to know, and there again, easy for me to say, I could see a really logical effort, Rodney, to contact someone who teaches acting in New York City or vicinity. They're doing it, and they have classes, and people sign up, and they get certifications, and it wouldn't be a bad idea to bring someone like that in. As I said, when I was preparing to direct, I wanted to sit in on those classes, and they have a different language. I mean, they teach actors how to sort of get to the moment. As I said, you might not be able to just say action and get the actor to do exactly what they had hoped. They need some time prior to when you're rolling to really get in that mindset, to really internalize and feel. Let's say maybe they need to be ready to start crying and be in tears in a scene. It happens quite a bit, right? Well, you can't just cry on a cue, you know what I mean? So the actor would need time to get there. Also, there are times when, and the actors will always, in a sense, prepare on their own, but they might prepare something that's not what you want, not what you had in mind for this character or this scene, or what you think will work for this movie, that it seems like it's too big, or it's too, there's something glib about it. So, you just have to, and so then you have to try to correct it right there, and that's tough, So I think job one would be let's say for your shorts, to have a conversation with each actor that you hire and talk through the script and talk through the general tone that you're looking for, that your sense that this person is actually very angry and they're in a lot of pain, but they stifle it. But and in the course of the scene or the film, this gets kicked off. Or that you would like that this person is just very quiet, very natural. He just goes with the flow, or she just goes with the flow, that she seems to be just sort of aware of the world and kind of take things in and is very calm. Nothing ruffles her. Okay. So, figure out what you feel is the right tone and sort of backstory of each actor. So you can share that with with each character. So you can share that with the actors. But this is a big topic. I mean, if the tone and the pace and the characters and the way things are spoken, and they need to build, right? You don't want to just have it just be there. You want to have an arc for the character that you start out here, and then this is like the halfway point is when this happens and he's starting to get really concerned. And then, so I think you want to think through what you need from the actor in terms of telling the story and reaching the audience with the most strength and, beauty and conviction. So that's a big topic. Yeah. But those are a couple of key things I would say for everyone. Yeah. But it's a big question, yeah.
Let me just add, Charlie, and for everyone who is aiming to make your own short films, especially as you move toward your senior film project. One of the electives that we offer is a course called Directing for the Screen. It's a semester-long course where Christine Scorsese takes the class into Manhattan and has them work with professional actors. And so, but it is a semester-long thing, figuring out how to direct actors in the best possible way. Looks like we have a question from Randi McCray. Randi?
Hi, so my name's Randi, and I'm really into screenwriting. That's like the main area of the entertainment industry I wanted to go into. I was wondering if you had any advice on how to get in contact with like agencies when you don't have a management team or you're on your own, or like how to possibly like distribute your own screenplays.
Yeah, I have tried, and I've never gotten very far with that. I think you just have to try everything. Let's say you write a script. Okay, it can't hurt to try to just get like maybe a short script or a play or a short play. Can't hurt to get it produced with some friends. Get it, just get it on its feet and maybe shoot a video recording of this play, shall we say. That's a manageable cost. It might not be perfect, but it's something that your words, your spoken words, your script is on a viewable medium. That is a good idea, right? Then a screenplay, a feature screenplay, which is, naturally what I would imagine you mainly would be concerned about writing, is that you need to get it out to anyone and everyone that you possibly can, to try to get it, to someone who might produce it. And agents and managers, in my history, in my experience, they don't do much at all until they smell the money, and you just, you kind of have to break the ice to give yourself a name before any of those pros are actually going to give you much attention. That's my experience. Now, you could be lucky. Maybe your talent and your creativity could show up really fast and someone's like, yeah, that's great, let's do it. Or, that just hasn't happened to me. So I don't know that part of the story that well, I know if you have a better chance of getting, if you can interest someone who has some stature in the industry, like, an established director or an established actor, that's also great. If you have a screenplay and, you want to get it to, Leo DiCaprio, whatever. But, you could find out what production company he's connected with. You could try, and it might happen with someone probably a more modest, ambitious level, that you could get some interest. And then if it moves ahead, great, it might really go well. There are people who make a living as screenwriters. I think you just have to try everything and study what your options might be and see what works. And then if it doesn't work, just keep going, Does that help? I know that's not a good news, but.
Yes, thank you so much.
What about screenplay competitions, Martha? Are there particular ones that you might recommend? Everybody knows about the Sundance Institute, but are there other high-profile competitions that might help someone get the attention of the right people?
I actually kind of like film festivals. Over the years, I applied to a lot of them. And yes, there are screenplay competitions. And I've won prizes, and that builds a resume of the piece, but it didn't get me to any kind of real practical sales deal, Here's this amazing story though. When I wrote a screenplay that had won a few prizes, and I applied to this relatively modest film festival in in the UK. And I won first prize. So I said, oh, that'll be fun. I'll go get my prize. And that's where I met the producer who recommended me to direct this film. So you can get good results out of a screenplay submission, sort of almost like randomly. You might get some more people to read it. You might meet some other writers, some other directors. It's just, there's no guarantee, but if you win and you show up, you might, oh, that was cool. I like it. It's just, yeah, and then I've met people and won prizes and stuff, and something, sort of is generated, but then it doesn't go very far. It's just more of a, okay, I'll read it. That's it. I don't know. It's just, those are tough roads to hoe. Yeah.
We have a question from Sarah Graziano.
Hi, Ms. Pinson. I'm a student journalist. I'm hoping to publish with the Hofstra Chronicle, the student newspaper here. My question for you is, how has COVID-19 impacted your craft as a filmmaker?
Right. Hi, Sarah. Yes. Okay. I was sort of fortunate in that I retired from my day job quite a few years ago. So so I got my pension and my Social Security and that sort of stuff. So I was already working from home, freelancing, working on, like writing projects and smaller films, right? Reading films that maybe I would be considered to direct. Okay. So when the COVID hit, I wasn't thrown completely out of my normal life. I was still able to work from home and communicate by Zoom. I teach by Zoom. I communicate by Zoom, and I could keep sharing things. However, the film that I was hired to direct, although, it wasn't like written in stone or anything, but it was, it was an agreement that we were going to move ahead and raise the funds for this, or they were going to raise the funds, and I was going to direct this film. Perhaps shoot in 2021, right? Okay, so that was put on hold. Uncertainty all around as to what was going to come from this and when and if and so forth. They still want to do it, and I will have another chat with people, this week. But so that was the biggest change, as it were, that I had to just accept that this was not going to move ahead as we had hoped. Other things could have delayed it or this and that, but the COVID pandemic definitely put a stop to a lot of forward movement on, like a new project. Yeah. You can do what you can do, but there's a lot that you can't do at this point.
Are you optimistic, Martha, that things are picking back up? I know anecdotally there are things here, Saturday Night Live is shooting again. HBO is shooting a series out here called The Gilded Age. So I've just heard these little stories about things starting to move. What's your sense of that?
It's pretty unpredictable. I think, there could be some sudden, situations where, yes, a lot of, television and film projects are going back to work with extensive COVID protection priorities and procedures, right? The producers, the assistant directors, the directors, everybody on set has new things to deal with. Like, you can't go here and you have to wear a mask, and you have to go, and you can't go there, and only one person can be here at a time, and on, right? It's just, but making a film or a TV show, it's like just 100 people breathing down each other's neck all day, every day, of course. And there's dirt everywhere. We don't clean anything. I mean, I don't know, it's just, oh God. So that is a high risk sort of adventure at this point. A lot of, like, CBS, series, for example, FBI, it's a big successful series, relatively new. They were shut down two episodes early in the spring, and now they're, they wanted to start, and then they kept pushing it, but they are starting, but it could things could happen, it's like we don't know. So it's very tentative at this point as to whether there will be continuation of these TV efforts. On the other hand, an indie feature, something that's optional like that, chances are it would be safer and wiser to hold off a bit. But if you're going to do a short film with a very small cast, and you can make the proper precautions, make sure everybody's, been tested, has a mask, stays distant, go to a place that's safe, and all the things which will help prevent a virus from spreading. You could do it. You could shoot it a couple days, or might be fine.
Looks like I think Matt Zampino had a question, and then I'm going to have one more question for you after that.
Yeah, my question is, I heard you said you worked as a production assistant before. Is that right?
Yeah.
So, what are the benefits of working as a PA?
What is what?
What are the benefits?
Oh, the benefits. Okay. Working as a PA is basically the first job you're going to get on a set. Even if you're educated, or you're really smart, or you have friends in the business, somebody wants to hire you, chances are your first job is going to be a production assistant. That's sort of just the norm. Now, because most of the other jobs require a fair amount of training, but you can start as a PA. There's office PAs, location PAs, production, obviously, So it is just kind of normal that, you could start as an accountant, but, you could be an accountant, but you would start as an assistant to the accountant. If you want to work in the production office, you would start as a production assistant to the production coordinator, or, there are entry-level jobs that do get passed along to people who are, excited to learn and join film production. On the set, you would be like, in a sense, on the team, a crew of the assistant directors. So there's a first assistant director and a second assistant director. And they need a bunch of production assistants to make sure the set is, the shot is kind of protected. Like, you would stand on a corner and ask people to please cross to the other side of the street. Thank you, because we're shooting here. And hopefully everyone would abide. You might be meeting someone who needs the keys to get into a building where they're going to do some, lighting and set decorating. So the location manager might send you to make sure you get the keys, and you meet them there at 7 a.m. to let them in, and keep an eye on, the basics of coming and going from this house, that we don't screw something up. You might be working in the office, like sort of, hiring extras, or, on set, maybe bringing the extras to set and sort of going by what the AD says as to where to put them and what they're supposed to do. Because there might be 20, 30, or 100 extras. So a couple of people need to, expedite the choice of the director and the assistant director as to what has to happen with those people. So that would be a PA. And then everyone kind of knows that that's how you get to see what you like and what's interesting and who you like and what you want to pursue. Art department, sound department, right? Different things, right? You get to talk to people. And
sounds good. Thanks.
You're welcome. Now, I want to say one more thing, though, about all these, is that there has been a change. As I said, when I was working, there was much more, we were shooting on film. there was much more one camera work. Things are wild now with video cameras, and sometimes like there's 3 cameras on almost every shot. They're just rolling all the time. It sort of doesn't matter. And so, you know, the things are, and there's a lot more smaller projects, you know, like things for TV. There's a lot of commercials. There's a lot of, you know, shows that are on, and they have to shoot you know, a sort of preview something for a show that's going to start. And I don't know, you know, there's just, there's a lot more work because there's a lot more media being done, although there's a little bit of on pause now, but, you know, the television has to have, you know, product round the clock on 100 channels or more, 1,000 channels, I don't know. So, you know, there is work. And so, you know, it's not just working on movies. And so I don't know too much about the smaller projects, you know, I know more about, you know, feature films, shall we say. So, you know, there could be other PA jobs on those or starting positions on those.
Well, even though we're right up on our time, I did have one more question for you, Martha, and this may be a tough one, but I've seen, and I'm sure you've seen, a lot of student films and a lot of independent films, you know, people's sort of first film features and things like that, that look like student films or that look like low budget independent films. Your work doesn't look like that. You know, your short film, the basketball film, it looks like a film. What is that? How you know, how do you achieve that X factor? There's a sort of a leap, I think, isn't there, between one category of film and a real professional film that just looks like a film that
Right.
you would see in a theater. Is that a
Yeah,
tough question? That's a big question.
That's okay. It's interesting. And one time I did a short film as part of a film festival sort of, you know, sort of special gig thing. And we were given the script and we were given 5 pages to make it, 5 pages, 5 days, whatever, to shoot the film. And I did the best I could, but, and it doesn't look terrible, but I think there is a kind of what you see is what you've strived to reach. In other words, I got the best handheld camera operator I knew to shoot my short. It wasn't just anybody. I shot it on Super 16, which is much more expensive than video. I paid the crew members and the cast members. And I was able to do that because I was already a pro. I was already in the biz. But and I had a good editor. So I think every single choice you make, every single compromise you make, every single, you know, sort of element that comes into it is going to result in a different and greater or lesser quality. When I did that short in that 5-day challenge, whatever, the script wasn't so great. I got a really good actor, I got a good cameraman, you know, although we only had 2 days to shoot, I had to edit it too, or whatever. But the script was, you know, I liked it, but it wasn't brilliant. The basketball script was my biggest strength. It was like written by this wonderful friend of mine who was just a great writer, and the story was there. It was rhythmic and had a point, you know. So I think if you're not sure that this is like just genius writing, don't do it. It's not worth it, you know. That's and same with the camera operator, and same with the media that you use. You might have to spend more money, but it might be worth it. You know, I think it's the fast and convenient and just do it that's going to give you more of a, okay, it's good, you did it, great, okay. I don't know, you know, but you want to stand out, and that doesn't, I think that happens more when you really take it seriously in terms of who you need to bring on. You know, and I would say bring on it, get a movie star you've met to to be the lead. Maybe they'll just do it, you know? Okay, right?
Maybe.
If you have a movie star in your movie, you got a much better chance.
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you again. Thanks to all of you for coming, and thank you, Carol Mallison. Thanks to the Hofstra Cultural Center and the Herbert School for co-sponsoring this, and most especially, thank you, Martha Pinson. Much appreciated.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. I didn't know how long it was going to be. That was fast.
It came by quickly. Time flies when you're having fun, right?
There you go.
Okay. Thanks
All
so
right.
much. And
Thank you, and all the best, everyone.